So what we're going to be using as both a grain sealer and a finish for the guitar is called Solarez. I can't believe it's not lacquer. It's a grain sealer and feeler, and never really used this product before, so we're going to do a couple experiments with it. There are some directions on the back, which I'll show here, and we are going to use sunlight to try to cure this. It happens to be a very nice sunny day today. One thing to note is that since I am working out of our apartment, I had to make sure the windows were closed, and there was a little bit of light pouring in from the door, so actually I put aluminum foil on that open window because sunlight was actually coming in, because ambient sunlight can actually start the curing process, from what I understand. And we're just going to pour it out and kind of play with it a little bit and see what we can get it to do. I have some popsicle sticks here as well. And we're going to use that actually to test one thing that I'd like to try, which is mixing the Solarez with some glow powder or mica powder, because we're going to be filling in the cracks of the guitar that was, the burn marks basically. We're going to be filling in those gaps with not this exactly, but a similar glow-in-the-dark powder. I have a different one I'm going to be using for the actual guitar, but we're just going to see how well the Solarez can cure with glow powder mixed in with it. And that will give us an idea of whether we have to put the glow powder in the crevices first, find some way to seal that, then put the Solarez on the guitar, or if we can actually fill the crevices with Solarez and this mixed together, cure just that part of it, and then do a cure over another coat over that. So we'll have to see and kind of, like I said, experiment and see how it goes. All right, so I have gloves on now, and I'm just gonna pour a little bit of the Solarez into this small cup here, and we will see how it goes. Hopefully they didn't fill this thing to the absolute brim. Put that in there. All right, so actually, just so you guys know, I'm going to do this off camera, but I have a big red cup here and a little cup. I'm pouring it into the little cup, but I'm going to have the little cup over the big cup, just in case it spills it all. And it does look pretty viscous, so we'll just try to get all of that in the cup as much as possible. Okay, we're going to close that up. And you can see it's basically just like a clear, maybe a slight tint to it, but a pretty clear liquid in here. And I poured about that much in. And we're going to pour just a little bit of the glow powder in next and see how that mixes, if it mixes. And while mixed, see if it can still cure properly. I have a feeling it's not going to cure very well with the glow powder in there, because we are going to be essentially messing with the chemistry by doing that. But we'll have to see how it actually goes. Alright, so all we really did just now was cut open the packaging for the glow powder. So it's got like almost like a Ziploc bag right here. And we're just going to pour hopefully what is a tiny amount in there. Let's see if there's about that much in there to start. So let's just pour some out here. Okay, not too terrible to work with. That's good. And let's try to bring that back in. Seal that up. Hopefully that closes properly. I don't want that to spill out, because that would be really annoying. Glow powder is almost like glitter on steroids, so we do not want to have to try to clean that up, if at all possible. All right, so one thing I'm noticing here is there's some bubbles coming out of that. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our popsicle stick here and just kind of mix it up. It's kind of clumping up right now. But we're just going to try to mix it up as much as possible. So we have a nice consistency to the entire thing. I might have poured a little too much in here, but again, that is why we are doing this in sort of a testing environment rather than on the guitar itself and winging it, because that would probably not yield very good results. Alright, so I'm just kind of mixing it Sorry if that sounds really gross, by the way. So, as you can see, it looks pretty good. There's some bubbles in there, but for a test piece, that's not terrible. It's actually a lot runnier than I thought it would be. I thought it would be a little bit more viscous. I like that personally, so that means we can put it on very thin, and it will likely be easy to get into the crevices if this works out as a mixture. Alright, so what we're going to do now, I'm just going to put the popsicle stick to the side in that red cup. We're going to take this outside in direct sunlight, and it should basically fully cure within a few minutes. We'll give it 5 minutes, and then from there, we'll see how it looks. We might have to actually tear this cup off of it afterwards, but it should be kind of cool to look at. So let's see how it goes. Alright, so I let the Solarez cure for about 5 minutes, and I ended up putting this cup on the pavement with the light shining on it, and I didn't think about the fact that the pavement would be extremely hot, and the bottom of it actually started to melt a little bit. But it does look like the Solarez is fully cured. And what's really cool, let me bring this piece over here that I took out. So here is a flashlight. That's actually, I'm going to put my hand over it. That's actually pretty cool. So it looks like it came to a full cure. It's solid. There's no runs or anything. I mean, it's a chunk. Almost feels like glass. And it actually held the glow powder pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with that. I was not expecting that to work as well as it did. Now, this is much thicker than what we're going to end up actually doing. I was just doing this just to, kind of see how it worked. I've never used this product before. But that is really, really cool. So I'm very excited about that. And even though there's some melted cup on the bottom of this, it still holds the glow pretty well. I mean, I'm just going to charge it again real quick with the brightest flashlight I have. And I mean, look at that. That looks almost magical. That's some cool stuff. So yeah, I am super happy with that result. So that points me in the direction of actually filling in the burn marks with the resin mixed with the mica powder, because and again, we're going to do some more testing just to see how that goes. But this looks pretty promising. I mean, it's still very warm from being on the pavement, but I mean, that is really, really cool. So yeah, cool stuff. Solarez, gotta love it. And for the next layer of testing, I have some of that scrap wood that we had sanded down before, and it doesn't look very good, but I just kind of drew a random pattern that I thought kind of mimicked the Lichtenberg burning. And then I'm going to take my Dremel with a plunge router attachment and a very small routing bit and just try to kind of carve out a little channel along these lines. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fill those lines, those channels I should say, with that Solarez glow powder mix and see how it goes. And just kind of take it from there. So let's see how that works out. Alright, so I've read it out in some channels here, kind of following along with where the Sharpie marker was. I'm going to sand the surface again just to try to knock these raised edges down, and then we might widen it out a little bit with a larger bit, but I think that's a good starting point at least. Alright, so I'm going to be switching bits now. I'm going to go to this grinding bit right here. I know it's kind of hard to see. But we're going to be using that to basically go along the entire channel here and really just try to clean up these slots that we routed in, these channels. Clean them up a bit, and that way we have a nice area for the resin to flow into. And then once we're done going through and kind of opening up these channels here with this grinding bit, we're going to go through and level sand once again. with the sand nets here, starting with 80 grit, working our way back up to 400 just like before. So we'll go 80, and I think it's 120, 180, remember correctly. Hold on, let me grab these. So we start with 80, then we have 120, then it is 180, then 220, then 400. So going in that order. So let's start by just opening up these channels though. Well, it looks like the Dremel bit actually snapped off in there. That is why we always test on scrap. It's probably going to be very hot, so I'm going to grab it with these. Yep. So yeah, we'll need a new bit. Yeah, I think I'll finish up the job with this guy. That one. Probably should have used that bit before. It's a little bit wider, but removes the material quite a bit better, I think. The other one I think is more of a polishing wheel, or a polishing stone anyway. But that's like a true engraving bit, and that worked pretty nicely to remove all that material. Hopefully you can see that. So a little bit wider of a channel versus what we were working with before. So I'm going to actually go over it one more time with that bit. Just try to clean it up a little bit more before we start doing our sanding. Alright, so we've routed out those channels quite a bit deeper and also a little bit wider than before. I think what we'll do is we'll just we'll blast some of this out with might even actually just go into the crevices with like a toothbrush just to get some of the sawdust out of there, and then from there we'll take it outside and do some sanding on it. Alright, so what I did first is I took this Black & Decker vacuum here and went through and just vacuumed up all the little bits of sawdust that were in here. And then I actually took an old toothbrush, not one that I brush with, and just kind of went through all of these channels here and scrubbed really hard in case there were any pieces of sawdust that were kind of clumped together, because I don't know if you can see, but when I was using that grinding bit, it actually burned the wood a little bit, which actually works for us because it's going to be Lichtenberg burning on the actual guitar, so it's similar enough. But I figured there was probably going to be some clumps of soot or ash or just burned sawdust in here. So I went through with the toothbrush, and a little bit came out from especially these darker spots here. And then we're just going to do one more once over with the vacuum, and then we're going to start doing our sanding again. All right, so I've gone over and sanded this again with those sand nets from Diablo, and I used basically the same method I did when I initially sanded this for the prep work. Again, just went over it like maybe 5 or 6 passes across. I only just did this one surface, so it didn't take long. But just really, tried to clean up the edges here and make this nice and smooth, which it is now. And so I think we're ready to try out the Solarez and see how it goes in these small routes that we routed out here. So we'll see how it goes.